But let's get insights into the food delivery and the services business that we're looking at. And for that, Sagar Daryani is joining us. He's co-founder of Wow Momo Foods. Also with him, Raja Pandey. He's a consultant at Kearney. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Sagar, your company recently has raised fresh capital, and now Wow Momo operates several hundred outlets. So there are aggressive plans, I understand. You're going to expand into more than 100 cities. So tell us about the confidence that you have in Indian consumers. Yes, the trends are certainly supporting that in this report, but this kind of rapid scale up, especially because, costs are rising, competition is intensifying. So in this kind of scenario, how are you looking at growing so much?
See, I personally believe that, the secret sauce for winning is speed, affordability, consumer health, Gen Z-led engagements, and of course, giving people what they want. And I personally feel that, we at Wow fill in all those ticks, and we're literally opening 20 outlets every month. I think in this financial year, in 8 months, we've opened over 150 stores. See, my motto is very clear. If Domino's converted a roti eating country to a pizza eating country, and Domino's is a role model brand for me, if they can sell a 200 rupee pizza in like 600 cities and towns, I'm sure we can sell a 100 rupee momo in 600 cities and towns. So I think the market is huge, the market is dense, and habits are changing. Like the report says, for us, late night has become bigger than lunch, right? And if I have to look at it from the lens of the consumer wants affordability, wants convenience. And I think in our industry, we want to pamper the consumer. In our industry, if you don't enjoy feeding people, you can't really succeed. So it's about, giving in your best. Today, food is no more a cuisine. I think it's become a culture. It's become an emotion. It's become storytelling. And I think every brand is trying to do its storytelling in its own way and win over the customer or wow the customer.
So is that happening substantially enough, wowing the customer, Raja Pandey, when it comes to QSRs like Wow Momo? From that report, from that research that you've done, because there are structural headwinds, you talk about the supply chain costs, you talk about inflation. There are consumer habits, and they're fast changing because there are trends that build up and things come in style and they go out of style very quickly. So it could make scale up rather difficult. Or you think this is manageable?
Definitely, if you look at the industry overall, right, and we have benchmarked India as a country with different countries for that matter. So if you look at, for example, any industry for that matter, what happens is as and when a company grows bigger, it outsources some of its services and products that it uses, right? Similar is the case with this industry as well. As and when India as a country grows, right, the disposable income increases, this outsourcing of food creation within home or maybe cooking within a home will go on outsourcing to the restaurants. This is what we have captured. So if you look at the spectrum of India to Korea, as and when the GDP per capita of a country increases, basically the percentage spent of that GDP on a particular industry, and for that matter here food services industry, keeps on increasing. So we are projecting from 2% currently what we hold as a percent of GDP we spend on food services. There is a potential for us to go to 4 to 5% as and when our GDP per capita increases, right? And this growth frontier basically is led by tier 2 cities, which is strange because we started with the hypothesis that this will be driven largely by tier 1 cities. We started with the assumptions that it might be driven due to casual food habits that people have. Apparently, it turned out that health-oriented food orders are growing faster, as Sagar was also mentioning, right? And most of the orders that we have seen, right, in terms of growth has been coming from the late nights. So net, if you look at it, we have seen that there is a secret sauce, as Sagar was also mentioning, that has played out in the food habits. The sauce basically here means speed, affordability, unboxing experience, which is packaging, people focusing on consumer health and engaging with the customers, right? In especially the Gen Zs who are the influencers in today's world.
That's right. So I'm seeing it work at different fronts, but talking about the one that you mentioned, secret sauce needs to be healthy. It needs to consider dietary conscious options, whether it's gluten-free or lower calorie options. So Sagar, as far as Wow Momo goes, you think this entire trend, local flavors, you mix that with health, you mix it with convenience, do you think it's a sustainable model for the kind of mass expansion you need? Because sometimes you just need taste over health.
Absolutely. So, about 6 months back, we launched gluten-free momos, right? And we realized that for every new store, we got 30 new customers who would never eat a momo because it was made out of maida. So it's not that maida is unhealthy. It's just that some people are gluten intolerant, right? And in our industry, there's nothing unhealthy. It's either healthy or wealthy food, right? That's how we put it. But to be very honest, it's what you put into the food and the way your food processing has evolved over time. I would say the struggle done by the earlier brands like Domino's, KFC, McDonald's over the years, I think they have really helped to build in the infrastructure, and that is what is helping the new homegrown brands to mushroom faster, mushroom quicker, because the trial and error on many things have been done. It's now about cut, copy, paste, and implement, and that is why you see cloud kitchens going very fast, because the entry barriers are very limited. If you have a good product, you have people like Swiggy, Zomato to go out there, list your brand, and go and reach the customer.
So talking about this kind of expansion of outlets, you talked about diversification as well, Raja. Cloud kitchens, there are several FMCG verticals as well. Now you're looking at healthier menus, and there are these tech platforms that really help. So Swiggy and Zomato have their own role to play. Of course, there are issues over there that are getting sorted out now. Contact numbers of people who are buying on these platforms. Now that is going to be revealed. At least Zomato has conceded ground on that. So you're seeing a more holistic model that is getting built that really helps the consumer. But what models do you think stand out as likely winners in all of this? When you talk about all the diversification that's happening with QSRs like Wow Momo and others?
Sure. I'll highlight two different sort of trends that have played out. Firstly, in terms of formats, right? So earlier, if you look at 5 years, 4 years back, right? Usually casual dinings or at max fine dinings were the terms that you would have heard, right? And these were the ones who were leading the charge, right, from the front. However, if you look in the last 2, 3 years, thanks to the expansion of quick commerce as well as the food service aggregators like Swiggy, what we have seen is cloud kitchen as a concept has grown immensely, right? Even though it currently contributes to around 2 to 3% of total market share, it has been growing every year by 33 to 37% roundabout, compared to the industry overall going at 10%. So it's like 3x growth as compared to the overall industry. So these cost-effective models are working. That's one. And secondly, in terms of speed, right? While quick commerce started, we were of the impression that it is limited to groceries. While if you look at, for example, Swiggy Bolt for that matter, right? The format has really worked well for the industry. We are seeing people wanting or craving food in 10 minutes. So if that 10-minute doesn't play us out, maybe 20 minutes, but people want faster food to be delivered, right? People want it right now, thanks to their spoiled habit of getting groceries in 10 minutes.
Correct. So exactly, I mean, when you talk about that reliance on the existing kind of format that you have, where you order on Zomato or Swiggy, is that likely to change? Because at some point, and perhaps you can tell us, Sagar, that there was this over-reliance on these platforms. Do you think that model is likely to change? Which is the biggest game changer as you see it in your line of business?
See, as you see brands growing, they have their own platforms. There's direct to order to the brands. Like in our case, we have the Wow Eats app where consumers come and order directly. Obviously, it's growing at a much slower pace. And even for us, the focus is more metro cities at the moment because, you want more adoption there. But, with the likes of Rapido entering the food delivery space, and also, ONDC wanting to make a big comeback where, we at NRAI are working very closely with them. I personally believe that the food delivery sector will only grow if it becomes more cheaper and more accessible. So, I think if a market like GCC can have 5 or 6 players, I'm sure a market like India should not be close to monopoly. It should have more and more players coming in this sector is just going to widen the market, open up the market. And personally, I believe it's going to make food delivery much, much more cheaper. Also, to highlight your point, it's not just the healthy eating, it's also the different, national and global cuisines that are shaping up the way India eats today. I mean, if I leave aside the Korean cuisine, the Vietnamese cuisine, which Malika spoke about, if I also focus on the Indian cuisine, I mean, today Goanese food is growing aggressively. Your Pahadi food is growing aggressively. I mean, Momo is from the hills, from the Pahars. But to be very honest, your Bihari, Pahadi, Momo cuisine, there are brands that are coming out there and raising funding by selling litti choka. So India is evolving. I think even in terms of beverages, what Lahori Jeera has done, it's taken us back to the Sharbat days, and that seems to be the new revolution. So India is evolving. I think nostalgia is coming back in a more stylish, simplified, and organized way. And I personally feel there's major headroom for this to grow.
So a lot of nostalgia is coming into the kind of food choices that we are making, but it's not just about that product. It's also about the price. It's also about the operations, how quickly you get what you order for, and the brand, the kind of conversation that you have, especially when you talk to Gen Z. So perhaps this is a structural shift that we're seeing in India's food service sector, and where organized players and these QSRs, they are dominating in volume and value as well. We'll keep watching that space. But Raja and Sagar, thank you very much for joining us with your insights on the food business in India as it stands right now. Thanks very much.